Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to go into that Herald of Slaanesh a little bit more. That was a terrible way to phrase that. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. We're not going to go into it a little bit more. Why did I say it like that? Anyway, so, the Vigilus Open Day. One of the things we got from it was a picture of a new Herald of Slaanesh, alongside some fiends as well, which obviously you can see in front of you. And at the time, when I made the video talking about the stuff that had been revealed at Vigilus, I mostly just gushed about how awesome and disgusting it was, which still stands. It is awesome and kind of disgusting. But it also brings forth, I think, some of the darker and more horrific aspects of Slaanesh that I think have kind of become overlooked, not just by Games Workshop, but just in general. I mean, Slaanesh, all of the Chaos Gods, everything is very memey if you want it to be. And it's very easy to focus on what I would class as just like the basic Slaanesh thing. I mean, the basic Slaanesh thing is having no top on, and if it hurts, it's nice. You can boil it down to that, and that is a convenient shorthand and a very popular way of looking at it. It doesn't really go into the more, like, the darker side of what excess actually is, but it's close enough. The thing is, that kind of interpretation has not been helped by the way Games Workshop has presented Slaanesh historically. So, on the one hand, it is genuinely good that Slaanesh has not gone safe for work. Clearly, it's not gone safe for work. It's gone very not safe for work. I'd actually suggest that possibly the harp guy is getting close to not safe for life, because there's some like properly nasty body horror going on there. But in the past, it's not really had, the darker side of excess, the darker side of Slaanesh has not really been explored that much in terms of miniatures. That's one of the reasons I really like this model. Not just because it's a cool sculpt, not just because it's a cool concept, and not just because it's a new Slaanesh model, although, let's face it, that does help. No, for me, it properly draws out a side of Slaanesh that I think is kind of easy to forget. It's very easy to just go, to take the basic aspect of Slaanesh, run with it, and then never think any deeper about it. Whereas this particular model, this Herald, the guy with the harp sticking out of his bent back, mutilated arms with his nerves pulled out to form strings, that properly brings to the fore a much darker and, I think, a much deeper side of, well, the Prince of Excess. In the Horus Heresy books, quite often, when talking about the Emperor's Children specifically, there are examples given of the effect of Slaanesh on not just mortals, but Space Marines and, of course, a Primarch. And they do a good job of showing what excess is, what excess can be, that it's not just limited to the pain as pleasure thing. There are examples of Fulgrim walking around his quarters listening to like 100 pieces of music at once at deafening volume, because one piece of music isn't enough, 2 isn't enough, 3 isn't enough. It's that constant thing of needing more. Everything has to be more. It talks about the painter, Serena D'Angelo, I think her name was, who is, she's attempting to paint a masterpiece, but normal pigments don't do it. Colours lose their vibrancy. She needs more colour. She needs just more in general. Bodily fluids start getting used because they are richer, they're deeper than the standard paints that she's used to. But even then, after a while, they fade. Excess is a lot more than just demons walking around without a bra. The thing is that has never really been explored in model terms. I don't think, anyway. I can't think of a point where I've seen a Slaanesh model that is as overtly horrifying as the new Herald of Slaanesh. Yes, there's been, they're weird, they're creepy. Weird and creepy is a pretty core part of Slaanesh, but I don't really think I've seen anything previously that quite matches the level of like body horror that is going on with the new Herald. Which is a shame, because it does such a good job of highlighting that darker aspect to She Who Thirsts. For some people, for some Space Marines, for some mortals, there isn't dying horribly. There is instead falling to, for instance, Slaanesh, whereby you're placed in a position that you can never get out of, where everything hurts, but you need it to hurt because that's the only way you can possibly feel anything. You have to chase excess, you have to chase pain because pain actually gives you pleasure, except there's no way out of the loop. You are stuck there, and so you end up, for instance, with your nerves being used as harp strings for a demon. There is a level of dread attached to that I don't think you really get from a lot of other miniatures, which is why I like this so much. It's not just a case of, oh, it's just your standard naked guy who is dedicated to Slaanesh. No, there's such a lot going on in terms of what excess can actually mean. I mean, the full-on mutilation of a person just because you feel like you need to. That's a fairly horrible part of Slaanesh. The overriding of someone else's will to form, let's face it, a not very effective instrument. That's a very dark side to Slaanesh. The idea that this would even function as a normal harp. I mean, the implication is not that they're playing beautiful music on strings. The implication from this, from the fact that this guy is I think it's fairly safe to assume still alive, they're not plucking those strings because it makes it sound like a harp. They're plucking those strings because it will make the person scream. That's way worse than just, oh, it hurts, but it's nice. That's way worse than that. That's a proper that's a proper level of dark, disturbing reliance on something that you should not become reliant on at all. That's excess taken to the darker side of things. It's not just wanting to eat more or wanting to listen to more music or wanting to paint with more vibrant colours or wanting to go into battle to become injured or getting a rush from killing something else or getting a rush from being killed yourself. That's like an added level of disturbing which it needs, because something that the Chaos Gods shouldn't ever be, I think, is not boring, but something that they shouldn't ever become is normal. And demonettes with weird crab claws with no top on, it's only creepy for so long, and then it becomes normal. Just seeing a Keeper of Secrets with 4 arms, it's only creepy for so long, and then it's normal. There is no way that someone being turned into a living instrument where their nervous system are the strings, that is never going to be normal. That is always going to have an edge of horror to it. That is always going to have that is always going to be Event Horizon, flashes of hell disturbing. And that's how it should be. Slaanesh shouldn't just be the frankly boring and unimaginative thing of the god of sex, because that's not what Slaanesh is. Slaanesh is the god of excess, and excess has an incredibly dark undercurrent that leads not only to self-destruction, but in that specific case, in the specific case of Slaanesh, it leads to mutilation willingly. It leads to the giving up of everything that you could previously do to chase one specific sensation. In this case, no matter which way you look at it, it's horrific, because this person either fell to Slaanesh to the extent that they willingly sacrificed their mobility, their ability to function as a living creature in order to become a musical instrument for a demon, or they were forced into it and don't want it after all. Whether they do or do not want what's happened to them, in a way, is kind of irrelevant, because both options are fucking horrendous, and is way worse than any of the kind of, oh, the Geller shield failed and a demon got on board and everyone died. That's way worse. The Living Harp, way worse than any of that. The Living Harp is worse than being stabbed by an orc. It's worse than being forced by the word bearers to build a giant tower and then getting mushed at the end of it, or, forced to fight at the end of it. Those all lead to death. They all lead to either, whether it's fast or slow, there is still an end. Apart from when the soul gets to the warp, and then fun times happen all over again. Perpetual agony, whether you want it or not, that you need in order to stave off cravings that you only have because of Slaanesh. That is worse than death. That's darker than death. That's way more horrific than death. And I really like the fact that Games Workshop have actually brought a much darker side of Slaanesh, that they've actually explored a more horrific side of excess with this Herald. Because it'd be very easy to just make another demonette that's a bit bigger, or, I don't know, that's got an extra breast. But instead they didn't do that. They actually made something that is genuinely horrendous and horrific, and properly reflects just how awful Slaanesh can actually be. That's why I like it so much. And that went on for way longer than I thought it would. But yeah, I hope all of that makes sense. Let me know what you think of the model in the comments down below. Do you think it is properly awful, or actually kind of tame? Or at least, if you have any examples of other miniatures that are similar from Games Workshop. I mean, I can't think of any. I have had a look around. I just can't find any that properly match the level of that thing provides. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the links, Patreon, subscribe, videos, all that shit. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.